Chapter 1365. Sun Schwarn typed, "Master, please don't do that. Actually, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm just worried that if we let that rascal win, he will become even more arrogant in the future." Lang Mang typed, "Yeah, master. I'm not doing this for myself either. I just want to stop that rascal from getting ahead of himself." Butcher typed, "That's right. Master, I think it's better for Michaud to run naked. Ahem. It would be less embarrassing for him to be the only one. Don't you think so, master?" Yeva typed, "Do you know how to be embarrassed?" Everyone panicked when they realized that they had infuriated Lin Yan. They had wanted to mess with Michaud, but who knew that they would end up shooting themselves in the foot? Just as they were panicking, a notification popped up in the group chat. "K. Red envelope, master. Congratulations on getting rich." Lin Yan, who had a stomach full of curses, raised her eyebrows when she read K's message. Lin Yan tapped on the screen and accepted the red packet. Inspired by K, Lang Mang, Butcher, and Sun Schwarn immediately sent Lin Yan a red packet. Lang Mang typed, "Master, you're going to get rich overnight." Butcher typed, "Master, you'll become the richest man in the world soon." Sun Schwarn typed, "Master, you'll get rich from everywhere." Lin Yan accepted the red packets one by one, feeling a little better. Although second brother was a bit black-bellied, he did know how to adapt to circumstances at critical moments. They heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Lin Yan accept the red packet. Sun Schwarn typed, "Then, master, you'll definitely win this competition, right?" Yeva typed, "Depends on my mood." Lin Yan exited the group chat after that. Actually, she had just wanted to scare them. Otherwise, they would have flipped out. This race was very important to her. It was related to several big endorsement fees for the team. How could she lose? Fortunately, she had no intention of accepting any more disciples after taking in Yun Xian. She had just closed the group chat when she received a notification that 1,000,000 yuan had been transferred to her card. The sender was Xiao Yao. Why had he transferred so much money to her all of a sudden? Lin Yan's heart raced as she hurriedly called Xiao Yao. "Boss, did you transfer the money?" Xiao Yao said calmly, "Yes, your prize money for winning the competition." Lin Yan's eyes lit up. "Thank you, boss. The boss was generous." "Don't worry, boss. The next few matches will be fine too. We won't let you lose money." After a long while, Xiao Yao replied, "Also, there's one more thing." Lin Yan replied, "What is it? Just tell me." Xiao Yao said, "Accept me as your disciple." "What the hell?" Lin Yan's expression turned blank. "Boss, what did you just say?" Xiao Yao replied, "Teach me how to drive." Lin Yan recalled Xiao Yao's disastrous driving skills, and her expression was indescribable. She swallowed hard. "There's no need for that, boss. Your driving skills are so good. You're simply gifted. You don't need me to teach you. I'm just showing off in front of an expert." No, absolutely not. Taking Xiao Yao as her disciple? What a joke. Her wisdom would be ruined. Xiao Yao, 100,000 a month. Lin Yan asked, "Huh?" Xiao Yao replied, "School fees." Lin Yan replied, "Deal. No problem." Chapter 1366. Lin Yan had just reached the training ground when a notification popped up on her phone. Alipay received 100,000 yuan. It was Yun Xian who transferred it to her. Lin Yan glanced at the young man and strode over to him. "Yun Xian." Yun Xian sprang to his feet. "Master, why did you transfer me so much money all of a sudden?" asked Lin Yan. Yun Xian replied somewhat bashfully, "Master, this is the bonus that boss gave me. It's my filial piety to you, master." Lin Yan was so touched that tears streamed down her cheeks. None of the disciples she had accepted had been easy to deal with. The new disciple had been in a car accident. Fortunately, Yun Xian was around to comfort her. "Be good. Keep the prize money for yourself. You can use it to get married in the future," replied Lin Yan. When Yun Xian heard this, he immediately became anxious. Master, I don't have a girlfriend yet. There's no rush. Please accept it. If it wasn't for Master, I wouldn't be who I am today. Master, this is what I should be filial to you. Master, you must accept it." The child seemed to be speaking more and more fluently to her. Lin Yan didn't reject him when she saw how determined he was. Coincidentally, he needed to replace some parts of his car. She would buy a new set for him. After today's training, Xiao Yao suddenly appeared on the training ground. Lin Yan's scalp went numb when she saw Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao usually didn't come to inspect. So what was he doing here now? Boss, why are you here? Lin Yan inched closer to him. Xiao Yao glanced at the girl indifferently. Didn't you promise to teach me how to drive? Have you forgotten so quickly, master? Lin Yan was speechless. Mo Shuyan and Qi Feng were shocked when they heard Xiao Yao's name. Master. What had Xiao Yao called Lin Yan? Yun Xian glanced at Lin Yan and Xiao Yao in surprise. Lin Yan had no choice but to introduce herself. I just accepted Boss Xiao as my disciple. So, Lin Yan glanced at Yun Xian. Yun Xian, let me introduce you to your junior brother. Yun Xian. Mo Shuyan and Qi Feng's jaws dropped. What? You accepted the boss as your disciple? The other team members couldn't sit still either. They all started mumbling. Captain Lin, didn't you say that you're not accepting disciples anymore? That's right. Then we want it too. We also want to take him as our master. Why won't you accept us? It's not fair. Lin Yan glanced at them expressionlessly. Please, can you guys know your place? Boss Xiao's driving talent is unprecedented. You guys can't catch up to him even if you try. I can't find a second person in the entire racing circle. So what if I accept Boss Xiao as my disciple? Can your driving skills compare to Boss Xiao's? Boss Xiao can crush you with one hand. Have you forgotten about Boss Xiao's awe-inspiring performance in that competition? Most of the people present had witnessed Xiao Yao's amazing driving skills. When they heard Lin Yan's nonsense, the corners of their mouths twitched, and they were rendered speechless. What's with your expressions? Boss Xiao's driving skills are superb. Am I wrong? Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. Everyone shook their heads and laughed dryly, not daring to expose him. That's right, that's right. Boss Xiao's driving skills are indeed superb. It's awesome. Ha ha ha. Because of his driving skills. Are you sure it's because of his superb driving skills, and not because of his money? Chapter 1367. Lin Yan had no choice but to teach Xiao Yao how to drive. Lin Yan fastened her seatbelt as soon as she got into the front passenger seat. A few minutes later, a group of team members who had been hiding to watch the show watched as the silver racing car drove into the flower bed, smashing a large hole in the wall. Fortunately, the quality of the car was good. The two of them got out of the car with dirt all over their faces, but they didn't suffer any injuries. Wow! TSK. Boss Xiao lives up to his name. Boss Xiao is awesome. Awesome. Boss Xiao is awesome. Awesome. Ha ha ha. Boss Xiao is definitely the Waterloo of our captain's teaching career. Fortunately, the second level of the international competition would begin the day after tomorrow, so Lin Yan didn't have much time to teach. Otherwise, she felt that she might not be able to compete again. She had called Xiao Zhe a few times, but there had been no news of her brother or her mother. She could only wait until the competition was over to find out more. If her parents weren't her biological parents, wouldn't that mean that Lin Mo wasn't her biological brother? Regardless of whether they were related by blood or not, her mother and brother were her closest relatives. However, she didn't know what kind of people her biological parents were, or if she had any other siblings. At this thought, Lin Yan suddenly recalled the man who had appeared out of nowhere and claimed to be her brother. Could that man not have mistaken her for someone else? Could he really be? At the same time, in a secluded manner in the suburbs of the country, the hall was dim, and there were totems of different sizes carved on the walls. There were some obscure words written on the bottom left of the totems. They were neatly arranged on the left side of the hall. More than 20 young men and women stood there, whispering to each other. Before long, the hall door opened and a man strode in. Fifth brother, you're here. A few young men and women walked forward to welcome him. Is father here? Asked the man. He has been here for some time. The man frowned. His father had never stepped out of the headquarters, yet he had come to the country this time. Could it be because of his sister? Shang Beiwa, I told you not to disturb little sister. The boss, who was dressed in a black suit, adjusted his glasses gently as his eyes trailed to Shang Beiwa. And her friends, replied the boss softly. Heh. The corners of Shang Beiyue's lips curled up slightly as he looked at his boss with a half-smile. Shang Yu, stop putting on that big boss attitude in front of me. What I do is none of your business. The group of men and women looked expressionlessly at the eldest, Shang Yu, and the fifth Shang Beiyue. The two of them had not been on good terms for a few days, so it was already good enough that they did not draw their swords. Most of the brothers and sisters were already used to it. Big brother, fifth brother. Stop arguing, we're all family. A young man tried to persuade them. Do you have the right to speak here? Shang Beiyue glanced at the young man. Fifth brother, I'm just. The young man glanced at Shang Beiyue, sighed in the end, and didn't speak further. Boss, fifth brother, don't be so noisy. My ears are itching. A young boy who looked like a teenager walked out from the crowd. His bangs covered his left eye, and his right eye had a deep color. He was very different from ordinary people. Shang Beiyue looked at the boy and said indifferently, Fourth brother, I'm not trying to stir up trouble. You know that. Yes, but it's not the boss's idea to not disturb little sister. It's father's idea, the boy said. Chapter 1368. Shang Beiyue sneered. I just can't stand him treating himself as father's representative. Everyone in the hall heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the boy step forward. Among their siblings, only the fourth brother, Shang Hui, could keep the fifth in check. The fourth brother, Shang Hui, didn't look very old and had the appearance of a child, but no one knew exactly how old he was. Where's father, fourth brother? Shang Beiyue asked. Father is still resting, Shang Hui answered. Then why did father ask me to come back this time? Shang Beiyue was a little puzzled. Oh, I received news that someone is coming to assassinate father. To make sure nothing goes wrong, I called you back in father's name. It's good that you're back. I don't know what kind of trouble you'll cause outside, Shang Hui said. Someone wants to assassinate father? A cold glint flashed through Shang Beiyue's eyes. Who would be so bold? I don't know for now, Shang Hui said indifferently. Shang Hui said indifferently. There have been too many people who have wanted to take father's life in recent years. Even the elders of the Shang clan want to replace father. Shang Beiyue smiled when he heard this. Those old geezers have lived comfortably for too long to the point that they've even forgotten their surnames. Just think about it. If it wasn't for father, how could the Shang clan possess such a high status amongst the evolved clans? It's not just the Shang clan. Many other major factions want father to disappear. Because my father's existence has damaged the interests of too many people. My father has the strongest power. As long as father is still alive, the other evolutionary clans will never be able to make a name for themselves in the field of evolutionary research. Rather than saying they want father's life, it's more accurate to say that they want to obtain the evolver's experimental techniques from father. The young men and women in the hall exchanged glances. Many powerful evolver forces have been passed down for hundreds of years, and natural-born evolvers were extremely rare and could not be forced. In order to maintain the evolver clan's strength, they had to borrow experimental technology to continuously produce postnatal evolvers for the clans. This was to maintain the clan's strength and status. If the laboratory did not have the technology to continuously produce postnatal evolvers, those powerful evolutionary clans would have completely disappeared in less than 100 years. Among these powerful evolver clans, their father Shang Yuan had the best experimental skills. Many of the postnatal evolvers he produced were not any weaker than innate evolvers. This was also the direct reason why the Shang family's position among the evolvers had always been unshakable. As for their father Shang Yuan's technology, even the Holy Land coveted it. The Holy Land's emissary had once sought out Shang Yuan, wanting to develop a new experimental technology together with him, but Shang Yuan had refused. Those people's intentions are very clear. Father possessing such technology is indeed frightening. The other clans will only give father two choices. The first option was for his father to publicize the technology. It would be fairer for all the big clans to have such technology. The second option is to make father disappear forever. That way, no one will be able to control this technology. It's also a form of fairness, Shang Hui said. It's impossible for Father to publicize the technology. So there are too many people who want Father to disappear. We can only wait and help Father eliminate all the invaders. Chapter 1369. The fifth brother, Shang Beiyue, stood far away and said nothing. His father was indeed very dangerous. One of the main reasons was that his father was an evolver with an acquired physique. He could not fight those truly powerful innate evolvers. If he was approached, he could easily lose his life. None of them had seen their father fight before, but every single one of them was a super evolver that their father had nurtured using experimental technology. They could obviously sense their father's strength. Late at night, several dozen kilometers away from the hall, a man in a white coat was walking in front. There was another person behind the man in white. It's right in front, but we need to be careful. Shang Beiyue, Shang Hui, and the others have returned. They're guarding Shang Yuan. The man in white smiled. It's fine. It's just a pity that Shang Yuan doesn't know how to appreciate favors. He's like a ticking time bomb to this world that can explode at any time. Since he doesn't want to hand it over, we can only make him disappear. If it weren't for the greater good, why would the sacred land do something so despicable? Yes. The man nodded. A complicated expression appeared in his eyes. The sacred land existed to balance the world of ordinary people and evolvers. Without the sacred land, the world would have been in a terrible state a long time ago. Those powerful evolvers would not have the slightest fear, and the existence of the sacred land prevented many evolvers from acting recklessly in the world of ordinary people. A while later, the two of them arrived outside the hall. The envoy stopped and looked inside. Oh no, Shang Yuan's terrifying adopted children are almost all gathered. They're all guarding the hall. The envoy smiled. Envoy, please be careful. Those people are not easy to deal with. If you're discovered by them, you can only escape. It's fine. Leave Shang Yuan to me. I'll give Shang Yuan one last chance tonight. If he's willing to hand over the technology and cooperate with the sacred land, everyone will be happy. After all, Shang Yuan hasn't done anything wrong. It's just the technology he possesses. Before the person behind him could speak, the envoy suddenly turned into a shadow and passed through the wall. The man was slightly surprised. Passing through a wall? There was actually such a power of evolution. A long time later in Shang Yuan's room, the lights flickered. The man was wearing a white shirt, which vividly outlined his figure. The man was expressionless, and his face was extremely cold. He looked like a young man in his late 20s. Shang Yuan suddenly opened his eyes and glanced to the side in a seemingly unintentional manner. Soon after he said, "Those who come are guests. Why do you need to be so sneaky?" As Shang Yuan's voice fell, the white-robed Holy Land emissary seemed to float out of the wall. "You must be Shang Yuan of the Shang clan," said the envoy with a smile. "If I say I'm not, will you leave?" "If I do, then I'm not," the man said expressionlessly. "Haha. It's really better to meet you in person than to be reputed. I never thought that the famous Shang Yuan would be so humorous. Not only that, his appearance is quite different from the rumors. Rumor has it that Shang Yuan has the appearance of a hunchbacked old man. Now that I've met him, the difference is quite great. Could it be that the Holy Land's emissary came all the way here just to praise me?" Shang Yuan casually put on the suit beside him and unbuttoned the two cuffs of his shirt. He said faintly, "Why are you here?" "It's just an old story. Back then, someone from our Holy Land had contacted the Shang clan, hoping that you could hand over the experimental technology or cooperate with our Holy Land to develop it. You should know about this, right?" The Holy Land envoy said. Chapter 1370. If I remember correctly, I've already rejected it, Shang Yuan said expressionlessly. Yes, you did reject it back then. However, you should know that the Holy Land's mission and purpose is to balance ordinary people and evolved people. We want to prevent evolved people from interfering with the ordinary people's world. The technology you have is too dangerous. I hope you can cooperate with the Holy Land. The Holy Land has never been selfish. We only care about balance, the messenger said. Shang Yuan looked at the messenger and said with a faint smile, "Did I disrupt the balance?" The messenger was slightly stunned. After regaining his senses, he shook his head and said, Not at the moment. Shang Yuan nodded. If that's the case, please go back. Although you're not disrupting the balance now, it doesn't mean that you won't in the future. We will only treat you as a friend if the Holy Land also controls the technology or cooperates with you, the messenger said. Nice words. So you want to rob me tonight? Shang Yuan asked. The Holy Land doesn't care what means we use. As long as we can maintain the balance, we will do it, the messenger said. What a nice excuse. However, I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with the Holy Land, and I won't hand over the technology. If I really mess up the balance one day, it won't be too late for the Holy Land to look for me, Shang Yuan said. The messenger was silent for a moment. In the end he sighed. Why are you so stubborn? If you're determined not to hand over the technology, there's still another way. You can disappear along with the technology. As he spoke, the messenger had already taken a few steps forward. Shang Yuan stood where he was and watched the messenger approach step by step. However, he didn't move at all. Shang Yuan, I'll give you one last chance. Cooperate with the Holy Land, the messenger said. No need, Shang Yuan said. After hearing Shang Yuan's reply, the messenger nodded. All right, you chose your own path. For the balance, I'll let you down tonight. In my next life, I'm willing to be your slave. I'm sorry. After saying that, the messenger flashed and appeared beside Shang Yuan. To the envoy of the Holy Land, the man in front of him was simply too weak. If he had to describe him, he would be like a boxing champion, while Shang Yuan was like a 1-month-old child. Taking his life would be as easy as flipping his hand. There was indeed some hesitation in his heart. The Holy Land had no enmity with Shang Yuan, and Shang Yuan had never done anything evil. Taking his life tonight was somewhat contrary to the purpose of the Holy Land's existence. The Holy Land should not have done such a thing. However, the technology that Shang Yuan controlled was too terrifying, especially after they recently learned that Shang Yuan's technology had made a further breakthrough. This finally made the Holy Land decide to eliminate Shang Yuan for the sake of balance, even if they had to bear the brunt of infamy. I'm sorry, Sai. The Holy Land emissary's soft sigh and regret could be heard from the room. He indeed felt pity and could not bear it. In the next second, the Holy Land emissary waved his palm, and the whistling sound of the force breaking through the air rang in everyone's ears. The strength of this palm was something that even an excellent innate stage evolver could not withstand, let alone an ordinary acquired stage evolver. The Holy Land envoy's palm strike was filled with killing intent. He would not let Shang Yuan feel any pain. There was only so much he could do. Chapter 1371. Boom! A loud explosion resounded in the room. Under the astonished gaze of the Holy Land emissary, Shang Yuan calmly took a step back and easily dodged the Holy Land emissary's fatal attack. Coincidence? The Holy Land messenger frowned and carefully looked at the calm man in front of him. Shang Yuan was indeed very weak. He was an acquired evolver, and the power of an evolver was not worth mentioning. How could he dodge his fatal blow so easily? It did not make sense. Shang Bo walked to the bed and did not look at the Holy Land messenger. He slowly buttoned his collar and took out a bamboo stick. Seeing this, the Holy Land messenger was puzzled. When my children are disobedient, I use this to whip them, Shang Yuan said. Are you crazy? The Holy Land messenger was puzzled. As soon as he said this, Shang Yuan did not move. In the next second, the Holy Land messenger suddenly shrank in pain. Shang Yuan's speed was so fast that he could not see it clearly. All he heard was the sound of something tearing through the air. Immediately, the pain made the Holy Land messenger's forehead break out in cold sweat. He subconsciously took a few steps back. The clothes on his abdomen were already torn, and blood was flowing. Before the Holy Land messenger could recover, there was another sharp pain on his back. The Holy Land messenger endured the pain and did not cry out. Impossible. You are indeed an ordinary acquired evolver. The Holy Land messenger gritted his teeth. I don't deny it, Shang Yuan said indifferently. But that does not stop me from whipping you. As soon as he said this, the Holy Land messenger was whipped again, and the pain made him grimace. Seeing that Shang Yuan was about to hit him like a father hitting his son, the Holy Land messenger was so frightened that he immediately jumped through the wall and left. Thank you for your mercy, but the Holy Land will not allow your skills to disrupt the balance. The Holy Land messenger's voice was heard, and he disappeared. The Holy Land messenger knew very well that if this man wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. But he only whipped him a few times, and he did not know why. Shang Yuan casually threw the bamboo stick aside. There was an inexplicable luster in his eyes as he pondered. Father, soon. The voices of many young men and women came from outside. Shang Yuan did not answer. A few seconds later, the door was kicked open by the childlike Shang Hui. In the next second, many young men and women rushed into the room. Father. Seeing that Shang Yuan was the only one in the room, Shang Hui and the others had strange expressions on their faces. He had clearly heard the sounds of fighting coming from the room. It's fine. He has already left, Shang Yuan said as he looked at the crowd. Father, did you see who it was? Eldest Shang Yu frowned. They had clearly taken precautions, but someone had still managed to sneak into their father's room. Fortunately, nothing had happened to their father. Otherwise, all of them would have to bear the blame. I'm from the Holy Land, Shang Yuan answered honestly. As soon as Shang Yuan finished speaking, everyone's expression changed slightly. The Holy Land. They had already found someone to talk to Father a few years ago. Although Father rejected the sharing of the experimental technology, they did not do anything out of line. Why would they do that this time? A young girl asked. It's not hard to guess the Holy Land's motives. Shang Hui said. Father's experimental skills have made a huge breakthrough again. Of course, the Holy Land can't sit still. I'm afraid they've already seen Father as a ticking time bomb. They think that Father's experimental skills will affect the balance between evolvers and normal people. So they want to get rid of Father as soon as possible. Chapter 1372. Affect the balance between ordinary people and evolved beings? What do you mean? A young man was perplexed. He didn't quite understand what Shang Hui meant. It's not hard to understand. Shang Hui rubbed the tip of his nose and said, The Holy Land has always thought of itself as extraordinary, treating itself as the judge that maintains the order of the world. Their authority must be supreme, and all evolvers who try to harm ordinary people will be eliminated by the Holy Land. In truth, it's precisely because of the sacred land that the ordinary people have never encountered any problems. Without the sacred land, those powerful evolved beings would have long since ruled the world. None of the people present were particularly averse to the sacred land. On the contrary, they felt that its existence was extremely necessary. In this world, there was no lack of powerful and ambitious evolved beings. Without the sacred land, these evolved beings would have long since stirred up a storm in the ordinary people's world. Over the years, the sacred land had indeed killed many powerful evolved beings, and almost all of these evolved beings had blood on their hands. It was not an exaggeration to say that they had committed the most heinous crimes. But why did the sacred land seek out Father? Father has never done anything out of line. Even when there was a war, it was a war between evolved clans. To put it bluntly, it's because of Father's experimental skills. Shang Beiwei said thoughtfully. It's not hard to guess. Father's experimental skills are too powerful. Ordinary people can rival, or even surpass innate evolvers, after being modified by Father's technology. As time goes on, the sacred land will definitely be surpassed by Father. At that time, the sacred land will no longer have any say in the world. Father will be able to do whatever he wants, and the sacred land won't be able to contend against him. The sacred land wants to get rid of this threat before Father becomes uncontrollable. That's why the sacred land can't tolerate other evolved beings being stronger than them. Shang Yuan said indifferently. It's not that the sacred land is afraid of others being stronger than them. It's that they're afraid that someone stronger than the sacred land will destroy the balance of the world. At the end of the day, the sacred land didn't seem to have any ill intentions. It seemed that they were willing to bear the brunt of infamy for the sake of the world. So what? Why should Father's things be handed over to the sacred land? Moreover, the sacred land wants to make Father disappear based on mere speculation. Do they really think they're gods? It It looks like they're preparing for a rainy day to get rid of the threat to the world. But it's actually ridiculous. Shang Qiu. At this moment, Shang Hui's gaze fell on the young man beside him. The young man was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then he said, "Fourth brother, what's wrong?" "Shang Qiu, I put you in charge of guarding a radius of several dozen li. You didn't even notice the people from the Holy Land approaching, and allowed them to sneak into father's room?" Shang Hui said coldly, "Fourth brother, this is my dereliction of duty, but I really didn't see anyone pass by. Furthermore, with so many brothers and sisters here, didn't we still let the people from the Holy Land enter father's room?" Shang Qiu replied calmly, "It's not Shang Qiu's fault." Shang Yuan first glanced at Shang Qiu, before he slowly opened his mouth and said, "The sun of the sacred land's evolution is unique, and can dissolve into the soil. It's normal that it hasn't been discovered. Father, this is indeed my dereliction of duty. Father, please punish me severely." Shang Qiu immediately walked to Shang Yuan's side and knelt on the ground. Chapter 1373. Don't blame yourself. It has nothing to do with you. Shang Yuan glanced at Shang Qiu and bent down to help him up. A cold light flashed through Shang Qiu's eyes as he rose. At some point, a small dagger had appeared in his hand. Puffed! The dagger stabbed into Shang Yuan's abdomen, and blood immediately dyed his shirt bright red. "Father!" Everyone's expressions changed drastically. Some of the children who had yet to return to their senses looked at Shang Qiu in disbelief, subconsciously believing that Shang Qiu was being controlled by some mysterious power. No one would think that a father's children or siblings would harm their father. Whoosh! At almost the same time the dagger stabbed into Shang Yuan's abdomen. Shang Yu kicked Shang Qiu's head, and sent him flying several meters away with a boom. "Father, are you alright?" Shang Beiwei glanced coldly at Shang Qiu, and immediately went up to support Shang Yuan. Shang Yuan's breathing was very steady. Although his face was pale, he was still very calm. There was nothing unexpected about this, as if everything was within his expectations. "It seems that I haven't done enough as a father." A moment later, Shang Yuan sighed softly. "Even though I know Shang Qiu is a child of the sacred land. You know I'm from the sacred land." Shang Qiu looked at Shang Yuan expressionlessly. "Bastard, how dare you kill father, you treacherous animal!" With a long blade in hand, Shang Beiwei was about to cut down Shang Qiu. However, to Shang Beiwei's surprise, his father pressed down on his shoulder and stopped him. "Father, what are you doing?" Shang Beiwei was confused. This unfilial son wanted to kill him. But why did his father? "No matter how much of a bastard he is, he's still my son," Shang Yuan said. "Just like all of you." "Shang Yuan, you'd better put away your fake compassion. You have so many children, but you're the most biased towards the eldest and the fifth, because they're stronger. As for us, we're slightly weaker. When have you ever treated us as your own children? We're just tools to be used at your beck and call." "Shang Qiu, do you still have a conscience?" Shang Yu looked coldly at Shang Qiu. "Let's not talk about whether you approached father with an ulterior motive, and became father's child. But you know very well how father has treated you and us all these years. Father has always treated everyone equally, and will not tolerate your slander." "Heh," Shang Qiu sneered. "You don't even recognize your own daughter. What true feelings do you have for foster children, who aren't related to you by blood? Little sister's matters are not up to you to make irresponsible remarks. Father has his own intentions." "I understand." Shang Hui looked at Shang Qiu thoughtfully. "No wonder the people from the sacred land were able to find our location so easily. You must have led the way." "Of course I was the one who led the way." "So what?" "Unfortunately, I didn't expect Shang Yuan's body to be so strong. He's obviously an ordinary evolver, but my poisoned dagger couldn't take his life." It wasn't just Shang Qiu. Shang Yu and the others were puzzled as well. In their impression, their father didn't have any great martial prowess, and his evolutionary abilities were extremely ordinary. However, he was able to escape unscathed from the sacred land, and even poison couldn't take their father's life. "Shang Qiu, you sure are vicious," Shang Hui sneered. "Smearing poison on your dagger? Cut the crap. The winner takes all. I have nothing to say, and I'm not in the wrong either. I was a child of the sacred land in the first place. Approaching Shang Yuan was only a safeguard for the sacred land. Since I've failed, kill me if you want, Shang Qiu said. Chapter 1374. All right then. In that case, you have to pay the price for what you've done. You're heartless, so don't blame us for not caring about our brotherhood. Father, Shang Beiyue, who had wanted to attack Shang Qiu, was stopped by his father Shang Yuan. Let him go, said Shang Yuan as he glanced at Shang Qiu. Father, he wants your life. A young man frowned. No matter what his motive is, I'm still his father. I have to bear the responsibility for his mistakes, replied Shang Yuan. Father, this, Shang Qiu leave. Shang Yuan waved his hand dismissively. Are you really not going to kill me? Shang Qiu was doubtful. Go, replied Shang Yuan. Shang Qiu fled under everyone's furious gazes. After Shang Qiu left, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Although this wasn't considered letting a tiger back into the mountains, they couldn't help but feel indignant. Father, is it really? The girl standing beside Shang Yuan spoke up. Shang Yuan didn't respond. He seemed to be deep in thought. After a long time, Shang Yuan said softly, Back then, I sent your little sister to the Mu family because her ability was too special. And this special ability, whether she uses it well or not, is a disaster to this world. Father, what kind of ability does my little sister have? Asked Shang Yu softly. Shang Yuan didn't answer him directly. I hope there won't be any disaster. Naturally, he had felt helpless when he had sent his daughter away. If he had kept her by his side, she might not have lived to this age. 3 days later, the second level of the international competition had officially begun. The competition was split into 2 divisions, A and B. Lin Yin and Yun Xian were assigned to Division A. Yun Xian was excited when he saw that he was assigned to the same division as Lin Yin. Master, I can finally be in the same division as you. Master, I will do my best. I won't embarrass you. Good boy. Lin Yin looked gratified. Then, as if she had thought of something, she glanced at the crowd. Michaud, who had dazzling blonde hair, strode to the interview area, surrounded by the media and cheers of the audience. Before a major competition, there would be a segment where people would talk dirty before the competition. The drivers of the major teams, who were interviewed, would exchange harsh words with each other. When it came to attracting hatred, Michaud was definitely one of the best. Michaud was one of the most popular contestants in the tournament. His extraordinary strength and outstanding appearance had earned him a large number of fans. The reporter said excitedly, Michaud, the bet between you and your master has already spread throughout the circle. If you lose this race, will you really run naked on the track? On the big screen, Michaud lazily narrowed his green eyes as he looked at the crowd mockingly. Lose? It's not that I'm looking down on anyone here. What I mean is that everyone here is a younger brother. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of sighs and screams. The reporter continued to ask, This year's international competition will be held in China. In the 3rd level of the international competition, the Chinese racers have also achieved good results. Are there any Chinese racers who have given you any pressure? The corners of Michaud's mouth twitched. A Chinese racer who makes me feel pressured? That was probably not even born yet. With their speed, it would take them a while to change jobs and make deliveries. Chapter 1375. Michaud didn't forget to tell the camera. Oh yeah, master, ants, I'm going to take out the trash. Don't forget our bet when I come back. As soon as these words came out, all the Chinese racers and fans were instantly enraged. This brat's words were too infuriating. The Chinese racers around Lin Yin were infuriated. How could he say such things in their territory? What did he mean by saying that the Chinese racers would be late for delivery? What did he mean by taking out the trash? The first sentence was mocking the Chinese racers, and the second sentence was mocking all racers as trash. This kid was simply indiscriminate. F***ck. This kid is too arrogant. Yeah, Goddess Yang is still here. Our Captain Lin is very strong too. The Chinese racers discussed angrily. However, they didn't sound very confident. After all, he was Lang Mang's apprentice, the grand disciple of the racetrack's Grim Reaper, Yeva. Yeva's name alone was enough to make everyone tremble in fear. Goddess Yang might be strong and experienced, but Michaud's ability couldn't be underestimated. His talent wasn't inferior to Goddess Yang's. Although Lin Yan had won the third level of the international competition, her experience in major competitions was pitiful. No one believed that she would be able to perform well in this competition. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched as she stared at the arrogant youngster. She couldn't bear to look at him. She really didn't want to admit that he was her grand disciple. He was indeed Lang Meng's apprentice. He had even mastered the art of mocking and scolding people. No, it should be more accurate to say that the pupil surpassed the master. Suddenly Lin Yan's phone buzzed. Lin Yan unlocked her phone and saw that Lang Meng and the others were sending messages. Lang Meng typed, "Master, we went to the church just now." Butcher typed, "Master, we are praying to God that you will win this competition." Sun Xuan typed, "Of course. Master will definitely win. Amen." K typed, "Master is number 1. Evidently, K had mastered the essence of Lin Yan's victory. Lang Meng, Butcher, and Sun Xuan also sent Lin Yan red packets. Although Lin Yan had accepted the red packet, she didn't say anything. Instead, she deliberately kept them in suspense. If he didn't teach these stinking brats a lesson, they would probably go to heaven. The competition had been split into 2 divisions. Lin Yan and Yun Xian were assigned to Division A. Lin Yan put down her phone and turned to Yun Xian. "Yun Xian, when the competition starts, no matter what happens, just focus on running. Don't worry about me. Just focus on running." Yun Xian didn't understand what she meant, but he nodded obediently. "Got it, master." Lin Yan pondered for a moment before she added, "I saw you studying Yeva's Albert speed cornering. Do you want to learn it?" Yun Xian was a little embarrassed when he heard this. No, how could I learn that? It's too difficult. I was just looking around. One of Yeva's most difficult moves to learn was to take a sharp turn at the Albert Raceway. Many people had tried to imitate it, but no one had been able to execute it. Lin Yan patted Yun Xian's shoulder. "Run well. If you can beat me show this time, I will teach you." Chapter 1376. Yun Xian's eyes widened when he heard her. He was so excited that his face turned red. "Coach? Really? Can you really teach me?" Lin Yan raised her eyebrows. "I'm sure you can." She wasn't his coach for nothing. Besides, her little disciple was so obedient, so she wouldn't hide anything from him. Lin Yan remembered that she hadn't even taught Lang Meng and the others. She had left in a hurry, so she hadn't had the time to teach them. Yun Xian had always trusted Lin Yan unconditionally. Hence, although he was surprised, he didn't doubt that Lin Yan knew Yeva's ultimate technique. However, his words sounded different to everyone else's ears. The youngster's contemptuous voice rang out. "I didn't expect the Chinese racers to be such noobs. They are all bragging kings." Lin Yan turned in the direction of the voice and saw Michaud walking toward them with a few foreign racers. The youngster's voice was as arrogant as usual. There seemed to be a hint of anger in his voice. Most racers who could compete in the second level of the international competition were multilingual. Michaud's Chinese was very good, so he could even speak the words noobs fluently. The Chinese racers were naturally displeased by Michaud's words. However, Lin Yan's words had been too arrogant, so they couldn't refute her. One of the Chinese racers was indignant. "What does Michaud mean? How dare he insult our Chinese racers?" Another racer lowered his voice and grumbled, "Ahem." But what Captain Lin said was a little too exaggerated. Sukai snorted softly and said, "But he can't be so arrogant." Captain Lin was the one who said it. What does it have to do with the Chinese racers? Anyway, I think that Captain Lin has become a little arrogant after winning the third level of the international competition. She has lost her sense of direction. In the past, she had looked down on Goddess Yang, but now, she doesn't even care about Yeva. Who knows how far she will fall in this competition? How dare she say that she knows Yeva's Albert corner? Does she know how difficult it is? Does she have any common sense? Sukai's words resonated with many of the onlookers. They began to exclaim about the difficulty of Yeva's stunt, and the era that had been ruled by the racetrack's Grim Reaper. Yeah, so many top racers have tried to imitate her but failed. Even the captain of the Falcon racing team, Ryan, said that Yeva's move couldn't be replicated. Yeva's eternal goddess. Michaud sneered coldly. Even my master and the others don't know how to do this. How dare you, a rookie racer who has only won the 3rd level of the international competition, claim that you know how to do it? Are you worthy? Grandmaster? What kind of name was that? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched as she studied the young man before her. She chuckled softly and said, "Kid, your Chinese is pretty good." In that case, do you know that there's a saying in China that goes, "No matter how strong you are, there's always someone better." It's best not to use your limited knowledge to judge this unknown world. Michaud furrowed his brows and turned to the translator. The translator leaned over to explain to him. In the end, Michaud said arrogantly, "Then I will let you know that I am the sky." Lin Yan was speechless. This arrogance was this kid Lang Mang's illegitimate son. Chapter 1377. And you are just a little brother. Michaud didn't forget to taunt Lin Yan as he raised his middle finger. He didn't forget to add insult to injury. How could a woman win the 3rd level of the international competition? The quality of the racers is terrible. TSK. This is so boring. If I had known that this would happen, I would have come to the 1st level. What a waste of time. Yin Xian, who had always been quiet, stepped forward angrily. You're too much. My coach never lies. If she says she will, she will. My coach is very good. Michaud burst out laughing. Pfft. Are you Chinese? You can't even speak properly. Why are you racing? You should go back and learn Chinese first. Yin Xian had a social barrier to begin with, and he was even more speechless after being angered by Michaud. He couldn't say another word for a long time, which made Michaud and the other foreign racers laugh out loud. Lin Yan pressed Yin Xian's shoulder and grinned. It doesn't matter if my Chinese is good or not. I just want to beat you. After all, I use my hands, not my mouth. What do you think, kid? Michaud's face darkened. TCH. Who are you calling kid? Ha. Ha ha ha. You want to beat me? Are you out of your mind? Bye. Since you're a man, don't forget the bet. Lin Yan waved her hand and led Yin Xian away. At Zone A, the competition was about to begin, and everyone was making their final preparations. Lin Yan was worried, so she reminded Yin Xian once more. Remember, don't worry about me. Just focus on your own. Michaud might be a little annoying, but he is talented and strong. He will be a good opponent for you. You should have a breakthrough this time. Enjoy the competition. Yin Xian nodded vigorously. Got it, coach. What Lin Yan hadn't realized was that Yin Xian had pursed his lips and clenched his fists slightly when he heard her praise Michaud for being talented and powerful. Coach, I will be very good too. Accompanied by the sound of the signal gun, the cars rushed out of the starting line like beasts. The sound of the engines resounded through the sky, making all the fans' blood boil. They cheered for their favorite teams one after another. On the other side of the ocean, Lang Mang, Kay, Butcher, and Sun Schwarn stared at Michaud, who was lucky enough to be on the same track as Lin Yan. Their eyes were bloodshot with jealousy. Their disciples hadn't even had a chance to race with their master, yet their grand disciple had beaten them to it. However, they were more concerned about the outcome of the competition. The 4 of them had been waiting for Lin Yan's car since the start of the live broadcast. As soon as the signal gun was fired, Michaud rushed to the front, just as the fans had expected. What shocked everyone was that the person following closely behind Michaud was a new racer from Hua Nation, Yin Xian. Although Michaud was younger than Yin Xian, his driving experience was several times that of Yin Xian's. It was Yin Xian's first time participating in a race this year, yet he was able to keep up with Michaud. The commentator was already gasping in surprise. Wow! As expected, Michaud took the lead. Who is behind Michaud? Let's take a look. Yin Xian. It's the racer from China, Yin Xian. The racer's performance in the 3rd level of the Global Championship a few days ago was quite impressive. I didn't expect him to perform so well in the 2nd level of the international competition. He has even managed to keep up with Michaud. This is really shocking. The commentator exclaimed in awe of the other racers. Suddenly he thought of someone. Hey, The dark horse of the third level of the international competition, Aurora's racer Lin Yan. Where is she? It took some time for the commentator to catch a glimpse of Lin Yan. Oh, we finally see Aurora's Lin Yan. She's the last? She watched as Lin Yan, who was in last place leisurely, Lang Mang was speechless, Butcher was speechless, Sun Schwarn was speechless, Kay was speechless. Did I give too few red packets? Chapter 1378. This time, the four disciples all panicked. If they were to lose the bet, they would not be able to stay in the industry anymore. Master! If they could, they would have rushed to the Hua Nation from the live stream. Sun Schwarn wiped the sweat off his forehead. Second senior brother, you're going to get me killed. As he spoke, he dialed a number anxiously. Hello, Jennifer. Arrange a skilled makeup artist for me right now. What? I don't need makeup. Get her to make my abs look more obvious. Can I make my mermaid lines look better? Give me a set if you can. Lang Mang was speechless. Butcher was speechless. Sun Schwarn and his two seniors looked at each other. Big senior brother, third senior brother, do you want to make some arrangements? I'll help you. Lang Mang rolled his eyes. There's no need for thanks. I have my own. Butcher pinched his forehead. He did not want to talk to Sun Schwarn. Is this even the point of concern? Huh. Sun Schwarn shrunk his neck and mumbled. Why isn't it the point of concern? There are so many female fans. If I run naked and my figure turns out to be bad, I'll be laughed at. Besides, I'll have to run naked with the three of you. There's no harm in comparison. Lang Mang and Butcher were speechless. Sun Schwarn noticed that King was the only one sitting there calmly watching the live stream. He could not help but ask suspiciously, Second senior brother, you're so calm. Don't tell me that you've been carrying iron behind our backs for the past few days? He had a strong suspicion that second senior brother was capable of doing something like that. King gave Sun Schwarn a sidelong glance. Are you an idiot? Sun Schwarn bristled. How am I an idiot? Then why aren't you anxious at all? King looked at the two cars that were almost neck and neck on the screen. Even if the master wants to teach us a lesson, Michaud might not win today. What? Sun Schwarn was shocked. With little maniac's ability, if master doesn't step in, he'll be invincible. How could he lose? King said, see for yourself. At that moment, Sun Schwarn finally looked at the live broadcast again. He, Lang Mang, and Butcher were surprised to find that the racing car that had been following closely behind Michaud had somehow caught up to them. It was now running side by side with Michaud, and it was even showing signs of overtaking Michaud. What? Sun Schwarn jumped to his feet in shock. Who is that kid? I can't believe he's able to keep pace with the little mystery cultivator. Lang Mang narrowed his eyes. I think he's a newcomer from the Aurora team. Butcher said, Aurora? Doesn't that mean he's in the same team as Master? King touched his chin. Was it my imagination? Why do I feel that some of this newcomer's techniques and style are very similar to Master's? Sun Schwarn was taken aback. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. Ah, it was true. Especially during the turn just now, even the angle was exactly the same. Under normal circumstances, a driver wouldn't do that. That's Master's unique habit. Butcher's pupils constricted. He surpassed it. Lang Mang stood up with a whoosh, as if in disbelief. However, in the live broadcast, Michaud had indeed been overtaken by the newcomer at a hairpin turn. Lang Mang slammed the table. How is that possible? It was one thing for his disciple to lose to Master, but how could he lose to a newcomer so easily? End of chapter. Chapter 1379. Sun Schwarn coughed softly. Eldest senior brother, calm down. It's a good thing that Xiaoxiu lost. At least we wouldn't have to run around naked, right? Lang Mang kicked him. Good my A**s. How could my disciple lose to a newbie? Even if he loses, he can only lose to Master. Sun Schwarn scratched his head awkwardly. This newbie is a little strange indeed. Where did he come from? How could he defeat Xiaoxiu? I have never heard of him before. What's his name again? Butcher was already searching for information on his phone. His name is Yin Xian. He is indeed a newbie with almost no racing experience. This is his first time competing. so I couldn't find any information on him. Lang Mang fumed. That's even more impossible. How could someone like him defeat Xiao Xiu? Silence fell over the room. Sun Xuan and Butcher exchanged a glance, not daring to provoke Lang Mang. Although Lang Mang had always despised Xiao Xiu, he still had high hopes for this disciple. King tapped his temple lightly with his finger. After a moment he suddenly said softly, "There's another possibility." Sun Xuan and Butcher turned to King. Sun Xuan asked, "What is it?" Lang Mang glanced at King suspiciously. King shrugged and raised his eyebrows. "If I'm not mistaken, this newcomer should be the new junior brother that Master took in for us in China." It was Sun Xuan's turn to lose his composure. "Nonsense. Master said that I'm her last disciple. There's no way Master would recruit another disciple. That's impossible." The last time they had chatted, they had asked Master if she had a new disciple, and why she had ignored them. However, that had been a joke and no one had taken it seriously. Butcher pondered for a moment. "Then how do you explain Yun Xian's racing skills?" Yun Xian's racing skills weren't obvious, so most people wouldn't be able to tell. However, they had been personally trained by Yeva, so they could tell at a glance. Sun Xuan quipped, "That's impossible. Who knows, maybe he's just powerful and talented." Although Lang Mang didn't believe that Master had recruited a new disciple, he could accept this explanation. If Yun Xian had been trained by Master, then it would make sense. At that moment, the commentators and fans at the scene had been amazed by the intense battle between Michaud and Yun Xian, and they were cheering excitedly. "Ah! Oh my God! He's too handsome! Yun Xian! Yun Xian! Yun Xian!" In an instant, the arena seemed to have become a stage for the two of them. At that moment, Michaud broke out in a cold sweat. He never thought that he would be overtaken by the stutterer, who couldn't even speak properly. It was a great humiliation. Yun Xian's face was expressionless, but his eyes were burning with madness. At this moment, there was only one thought left in his world, and that was to win. He had to win. Then, the two of them began to chase each other. The two of them occupied the first and second positions. Often, Michaud would overtake them, but Yun Xian would catch up with him in the next second. The fans could not even bear to blink their eyes. Yun Xian couldn't see Lin Yan, so he was a little worried. However, he remembered what Lin Yan had told him, so he didn't dare get distracted and focused on driving. No one noticed that the moment Yun Xian overtook Michaud, Lin Yan's car had sped up as well. She had started to overtake the last person in front of her. "Not only does your master have a new disciple, but there are two of them. Tell Sun Xuan secretly that your master has another disciple, and there are two of them." End of this chapter. Chapter 1380. Michaud exerted all his strength, and even used the ultimate move that he had prepared for the first level of the international competition. However, what he didn't expect was that the kid seemed to have predicted what he would do. He immediately changed his direction, and sealed off his route in advance. How is that possible? Michaud was stunned. He was getting closer to the finish line. If he didn't find a chance to overtake Yun Xian, he would lose the race. He would lose to this inexperienced newbie. Absolutely not. While Michaud was trying to think of a way to overtake Yun Xian, he didn't notice that there was a car on the field that nimbly circled around one car, after another like a ghost. He didn't know when it had appeared behind him, but it was like a crocodile that was biting him. Michaud glanced at the rearview mirror, and realized that it was the arrogant female racer. She brushed past his car and overtook him at lightning speed. Michaud felt his vision blur. By the time he reacted, he had been overtaken. This was impossible. Which bastard was it? How could he overtake him without him realizing it? He didn't even have time to react. Yun Xian's eyes lit up when he saw the familiar figure in the rearview mirror. At the same time, the commentator's voice broke out in excitement. "Oh my God! What did I just see? Whose car is that? Number 8. It's Lin Yan from Aurora." She had caught up from last place, and even surpassed Michaud, who was in second place. This is too shocking. She is indeed the champion of the third level of the international competition. There is only 1 kilometer left before the finish line. Who will cross the finish line first? Will Michaud be able to retaliate? Oh my God! Lin Yan had overtaken Michaud, who was in second place, and Yun Xian, who was in first place. The winner was Aurora's number 8 racer, Lin Yan. Yun Xian is in second place. Michaud was just behind Yun Xian by a tiny margin. As one of the favorites to win the prize, Michaud only got the third place in the second division of the Global League. This result is really too shocking. After a moment of silence, the crowd erupted into thunderous cheers. The Chinese fans were so excited that their throats were hoarse. On the other side of the ocean, Sun Xuan shook the champagne in his hand and even took out a salute gun from somewhere. He jumped up and down excitedly. Oh, ahahaha, I knew Master wouldn't lose. Master, my eternal goddess. That was great. There was no need to run around naked. Master really can't bear to part with me. Butcher and Lang Mang heaved a sigh of relief. As Michaud's master, this was probably the first time Lang Mang wanted his disciple to lose so badly. However, he still found it hard to calm down. Michaud actually lost to a newcomer. Just who is that Yun Xian? Lang Mang dialed a number as he thought about it. Help me book the earliest flight to China. Yes, the sooner the better. Sun Xuan looked at Lang Mang in surprise. Boss, what are you doing? Aren't we leaving the day after tomorrow? Lang Mang said expressionlessly. I want to know who that Yun Xian is. Sun Xuan's expression darkened. That's right. He actually beat the little fanatic. On the screen, Lin Yan and Yun Xian had reached the finish line. Lin Yan smiled and hugged Yun Xian's shoulders. Sun Xuan gritted his teeth, looking as though he was about to catch her in the act. He squeezed the champagne in his hand and said, I want to go too. Boss, help me book a ticket too. Why don't the 4 of us go together? Baby, happy 2nd anniversary. The plot of the book was coming to an end. After the competition, it would explain Lin Yan's background and evolved abilities. It was estimated that it would be completed during the summer break. Due to my health, the updates have been unstable. I'm really sorry. Thank you for everyone's support and patience. Thank you again. End of this chapter. Chapter 1381. In the arena, in the live stream, all the spectators were jeering. Streaking. Streaking. Michaud said that he would streak if he lost the bet. Is he going to go back on his word? Michaud's face turned red and green as he listened to the streaking. He felt as though he had fallen into a trap. Given King's personality, why would he take the initiative to make this bet with him in the first place? It was as though he had been certain that he would lose. He had made the bet with King because he was certain that he would win. Who would have thought that he would end up losing first place? He hadn't even gotten second place. The results of the competition weren't out yet, but it didn't matter to him anymore. He had already lost. Michaud was so angry that he took off his mask. Fine, I'll streak. Don't you have a saying that goes, if you're willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat? How could I go back on my word? Boys at this age were very prideful. But to him, going back on his word was worse than streaking. What kind of man would he be if he didn't admit defeat after making the bet? After taking off the hood, Michaud began to take off his racing suit. His firm, honey-colored skin was revealed from his neck to his collar. The screams of the female fans almost pierced through the clouds. Michaud had always been the type who had many female fans, so this was a rare opportunity for them. Michaud snorted coldly at Lin Yan as he took off his clothes. Woman, I didn't expect you to go to such lengths just to see my naked body. Don't tell me you have fallen for me? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. This guy was arrogant and narcissistic. Michaud unbuttoned his uniform and threw it on the ground, revealing his naked body in the blink of an eye. The director was so excited that the camera was pressed against his chest. In the end, Michaud's action of taking off his pants was hurriedly stopped by the organizers because he couldn't pass the examination. Michaud heaved a sigh of relief as he snorted coldly. Your country doesn't allow me to streak. It's not that I don't want to. The female fans shrieked in disappointment. Why do you have to stop him? Yeah, let him strip. Michaud, I don't mind if you strip at my house tonight. Just as everyone was shrieking in excitement, the results of the other competition came out. The big screen began to calculate the final data. Lin Yan had won the second level of the international competition by 3 seconds. At the same time, the second and third place were also in Division A. The second place was Yin Xian, and the third place was Mi Shou. The top three were all in the A division. No one in the racing circle had expected this result. Before the start of the race, countless fans and experts had made predictions for the race, but no one had guessed such an outcome. What was even more shocking than Mi Shou's loss was that Lin Yan had managed to retain her title. She was a female racer. No matter which label she used, it would be enough to catch everyone's attention. For a long time, Chinese female racers had been the underdog in the racing industry. However, a Chinese female racer had won both the third and second level of the international league this year. Even the Chinese racing teams and fans themselves did not expect such a result, because more Chinese fans still pinned their hopes on the two veteran teams, Thunderous Sound and Speed of Light. Su Kai had been prepared to mock Lin Yan after the competition ended. She hadn't expected that Lin Yan would win again. She looked as though she had seen a ghost. End of chapter. Chapter 1382. Ling Yang had performed steadily this time, so he was still in the top 6. This result had been acceptable, but it had become a joke compared to Lin Yan, who had won the championship again. In the past, all the flowers and applause had surrounded him after the competition. However, everything that had once belonged to him had now been transferred to Lin Yan. Due to the competition format and the number of participants, the international competition had been divided into multiple divisions. Although the competition venue was the same, the racers participating were different, so there was a huge difference between the two divisions. Ling Yang hadn't been assigned to the same division as Lin Yan. Even though Lin Yan had won twice in a row, he hadn't competed with her on the same track. He couldn't believe that a female racer could be so capable. Su Kai noticed that Ling Yang was in a bad mood, so she hurried over. "Goddess Yang, drink some water. Goddess Yang, look at how smug she is. She has only won 2 low-level competitions. She is so arrogant that she doesn't know who she is. It's just a consecutive championship. Goddess Yang, you won it a long time ago. Besides, you're the only racer from the country who has ever entered the top competition. She is really lucky that she wasn't assigned to the same division as you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have won the championship." Ling Yang's face darkened as he remained silent. The captain of the Lightspeed team wasn't feeling much better than Ling Yang. He was also one of the top racers in the country, but now he was being overshadowed by a racer from a new team. How could he feel good about that? The internet was filled with ridicule, saying that they weren't even comparable to a woman. They had fought for the country's team for so many years, yet they had been completely denied because of 2 competitions. But he was a veteran after all, so he didn't show any of it on his face. He had seen too many racers like this who only showed up once in a blue moon. Besides, the third and second level of the international competition were just for them to practice their skills. They wouldn't put their real skills and killing moves into low-level competitions. The first level of the international competition and the top competition were the real battlefields. The Aurora team had won the second level of the international competition. Qi Feng and Mo Shuyan had also been nominated for the first level of the international competition. The Aurora team was holding a grand celebration that night. Originally, the 3 teams from the country had wanted to hold it together, but the Speed of Light and Thunderous Sound teams had rejected it, citing training. Lin Yan was the star of the celebration, so she couldn't reject their hospitality. She could only call Pei Yuqing to inform him and attend the banquet. After the banquet ended, everyone bid farewell. Yun Xian trailed behind Lin Yan like a little tail. Lin Yan glanced at her disciple. "Are you sleepy?" Yun Xian immediately shook his head. Lin Yan chuckled softly as she opened the door of her vintage car. "Get in. I'll teach you how to speed around corners." Yun Xian's eyes widened. Now, Master, is it really possible?" Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. "I told you that I would teach you if you beat me. Why would I lie to you?" She had long noticed that her little apprentice had been absent-minded the whole night, but she was too embarrassed to mention it to her. It was rare for her disciple to be so motivated. As his master, she naturally had to teach him well. Half an hour later, Lin Yin and Yun Xian arrived at the biggest training ground in the western suburbs. The terrain was suitable for today's training. As soon as the two of them arrived, they saw the lights flashing in front of them. There were many cars parked there. One of them was a young man with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a sullen expression. It was Michaud. End of chapter. Chapter 1383. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Lin Yan's old, battered car was too eye-catching. Michaud had spotted her and Yun Xian almost instantly. "It's you guys." The young man was like an angry lion cub, ready to fight. "What are you doing here? Don't tell me you're following me." Yun Xian hastily replied, We're here to practice. This isn't your private venue." Michaud thought of something and sneered. "Practice driving? Don't tell me you're here to practice the Albert Speed Corner?" Yun Xian didn't respond, which meant that he was right. Michaud burst out laughing. "You just won the second level of the international competition. Do you really think that you're the racetrack's Grim Reaper? How dare you teach Yeva her ultimate technique? Aren't you afraid of blowing your own trumpet?" Yun Xian frowned. "My master is amazing. If she says she knows it, she definitely knows it." Michaud looked haughty. "Your master is amazing. Is she as amazing as my master?" Yun Xian stammered. "Your master?" Michaud asked. "Do you know who my master is?" Yun Xian's face turned red. I don't care who your master is. My master is amazing." Michaud continued to sound smug. "Let me tell you something. My master isn't the only one who is amazing. My master's master is even more amazing. Do you know who my master is? Do you know who my master's master is?" Lin Yin frowned. She couldn't bear to watch this. Was this a quarrel between elementary school students? Lin Yin asked softly, "Oh, who is your master? Who is your master's master?" Michaud glanced at Lin Yin. "You don't even know who my master and her master are. How dare you say that you know the Albert Speed Corner?" Lin Yin grinned. "What if I do know it?" Michaud recalled the humiliation he had suffered today and said, "Do you dare to make a bet with me?" Lin Yin raised an eyebrow. "Another bet? Sure. What do you want to bet?" asked Lin Yin. Michaud narrowed his eyes. "Let's have a race on the track now. If you lose and can't even use the Albert Speed Corner, then you'll have to post a tweet saying that you're impressed by my racing skills. And call me Big Brother." The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. "Sure, but what if I win and beat you with Albert's rapid cornering?" Michaud sneered. "Impossible. If you really win, I'll do whatever you want." Lin Yin felt helpless. This child really didn't learn from his mistakes. Lin Yin mulled it over before she replied, "All right then. If I win, I won't make things difficult for you. As for you, you can just respectfully call me great-grandfather." Michaud's eyes widened in disbelief. "You want me to call you great-grandfather? Are you dreaming? You should call me grandpa." Lin Yin tried to provoke him. "What's wrong? Are you afraid to bet with me?" Michaud was fooled. "Do you think I'm afraid of you? What a joke. Let's bet." He had analyzed the situation and realized that Lin Yan's results hadn't exceeded his by much. Besides, the terrain of the western suburbs was extremely complicated, which was advantageous to an experienced racer like him. Lin Yin was a newbie, so she wouldn't be his match in such a complicated terrain. He had to avenge his humiliation. Otherwise, how could he face his master? End of this chapter. Chapter 1384. Lin Yin glanced at Yun Xian. "Get in. I want to teach you a lesson." Michaud glanced at Lin Yan's old car in disdain. "Don't tell me that you're going to race with this broken car." Lin Yin raised an eyebrow. "Is there a problem?" Her car was the most valuable thing she had. Although it looked old and shabby, it was a racer. She had tested it countless times, but it was only slightly worse than the car she used to race with. However, it was good enough for her to race with Michaud. Michaud snorted coldly. "You can choose one of the cars here. I don't want to win unfairly." Lin Yin grinned. "Don't worry. I'm sure you won't win unfairly." Michaud asked why. Lin Yin replied, "Because you won't win." Michaud was infuriated. "You, do whatever you want, but don't forget our bet." The two cars were waiting at the starting line. This time Michaud was really confident. All the famous racetracks in the world were in the WZ Team's system. He had already raced thousands of times in the simulation system. He had also raced a few times in the real world. In terms of experience, even the top veterans in the first echelon might not be his match. The second level of the international competition wasn't that complicated, so he wouldn't be able to unleash his full potential. Besides, even though Lin Yin had beaten him, she had only won for 2 seconds. In short, he was going to win today. After the race, he would make this woman admit who was the best. That way, he would be able to regain his dignity before his coach arrived. In the dark of the night, the two cars whizzed like wild beasts and sped away from the starting line. Michaud's car was top-notch, so it was more than enough for the first level of the international competition. On the straight road, Michaud took the lead with his outstanding acceleration of 100 meters per second. Yes, let's keep this up. The corners of Michaud's mouth curled into a smug smile as he stepped on the accelerator. At the first turn, he managed to maintain his lead, as he had widened the gap between them on the straight road. What followed was a series of curves with extremely complicated terrain. The reason why this track in Hua Nation was famous was because the series of bends on this track was almost exactly the same as the one in Albert. No wonder that woman claimed to bring a disciple here to teach him. Humph! Albert entered the turn at top speed. He wanted to see how she was going to run out of the Albert curve. She didn't even know if she could make it through this kind of curve, yet she dared to say such big words. Finally, the car finished a gentle slope and entered a series of bends. Woman, I will expose your true colors today. Michaud's driving skills were very solid. He passed the 3 corners smoothly without slowing down at all. He was so handsome. However, the corners of Michaud's mouth curled into a smile. In the darkness, Lin Yan's old, rundown car sped past him at an angle that he hadn't expected. This speed. This was impossible. On such a steep and narrow curve, not only did she not slow down, she even sped up. She even overtook him when the 2 cars were abreast on this extremely narrow curve. Michaud was dumbfounded, and he almost ran off the track in a flash. This was absolutely impossible. Chapter 1385. The curve was as wide as Albert's, so it wasn't wide enough for 2 cars to pass at the same time. In other words, she couldn't have overtaken him. The only person in the world who had done it was Yeva. How had this woman done it? If Michaud was shocked now, then he would be in despair. He had always thought that it was a coincidence that this woman had beaten him. He had even been confident that he could overtake her easily. However, for the rest of the race, he could only watch helplessly as Lin Yan sped through the corners without making a single mistake. She was as perfect as a robot. That terrifying feeling of being unable to resist was something that he had never experienced before. In the past, he had tried his best to overtake his opponents. However, today, he felt as though he was a toddler who was learning how to walk. He was facing a towering mountain that he couldn't overcome. Michaud had no idea how he had reached the finish line. He was in a daze. There was only one thought in his mind. That was impossible. Lin Yan had already gotten out of the car and was waiting for him. She had already taught Yun Xian. Yun Xian's eyes were as bright as the headlights of a car. At the same time, Yun Xian looked as though he wanted to ask something. However, he didn't know what to say. He had a hunch earlier. Indeed, his master had hidden her true abilities. In the past, his master had never used her full strength. Even during today's competition, she might not have used her full strength. In this world, there was only one racer who could be this good. Michaud finally snapped back to his senses and shook his head vigorously. That's impossible. Other than my great-grandfather, no one else in this world could have done that. Not even my master. Before Lin Yan could respond, Michaud said excitedly, so there is only one truth. Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. Huh, had this kid finally figured it out? The truth is that I'm dreaming. The youngster shut his eyes and muttered under his breath. This is a dream. This is a dream. This must be a dream. Lin Yan's face darkened. Can't you be bolder and make a bold guess? Michaud quipped. Bolder? Lin Yen nodded. Yeah, I'm your great-grandfather. Michaud glared at Lin Yen. I think you're the one dreaming. Lin Yen was speechless. Why doesn't anyone believe the truth nowadays? Just as the two of them were talking, a few headlights shone over, and a few people got out of the car. One of them dashed towards Lin Yen, and the others at lightning speed. Master! Ow ow ow! That figure lunged at Lin Yen and dove into her arms. Master! I finally get to see you, old man. Ah! Master, I missed you so much. Master, did you miss me? Master, do you not love me anymore? Master, why aren't you saying anything? Master. Lin Yen stared at Sun Xuan, who had suddenly appeared. She was speechless. How could she speak? Did he even give her a chance to speak? When Michaud saw who was hugging Lin Yen, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. You, Brother Ran? Why had fourth Uncle Master suddenly appeared in the country? No, more importantly, why had fourth Uncle Master called this woman Master? Chapter 1386. Master, am I still your most beloved disciple? Sun Xuan was acting coquettishly, so he couldn't be bothered with Michaud. While Michaud was still in a daze, a familiar voice came from behind him. A tall, muscular man strode over and gazed at Lin Yen excitedly. Master, it's really you. The man looked as though he had just seen his own father. Michaud had never seen the Butcher of Death show such an expression to anyone. In the end, before he could react, another familiar face appeared. The gentle-looking man stepped forward, grabbed Sun Xuan by the back of his collar, and tossed him aside. He then took over Sun Xuan's position and opened his arms to give the woman a big hug. Master, you've been missing for so long. Aren't you too heartless? Although he sounded like he was complaining, the man's eyes were filled with longing, just like the Death Butcher. Hey, second brother. What are you doing? How can you monopolize Master? You're too cunning. Sun Xuan stomped his feet anxiously. Michaud stood rooted to the spot like a fool. No one had bothered with him for a long time. Brother Ran, Brother K, what are the two of you doing? Why did you suddenly come to the country? Most importantly, why are you calling this woman Master? Are you crazy? This woman? Ah. Before Michaud could finish his sentence, a palm flew over and slapped him hard on the back of his head. You rascal! You have no respect for your elders. Who are you calling this woman? Kneel down and call her great-grandfather now. Michaud turned to look at the man in confusion. Master, you're here too. Hold on. What? Great-grandfather? What do you want me to call this woman? Great-grandfather? Lang Mang was exasperated when he saw his disciple's silly behavior. He felt as though he had lost all his dignity in front of his master. He bellowed, She is my master. What do you want to call her? What else can I call her if not great-grandfather? Master's master. Michaud's brain couldn't function properly. He glanced at his master and then at Lin Yen. Hold on. Master. Your master. My master's master. Isn't she Yeva? Lang Mang suppressed his anger and shouted at Michaud. Yes, what's the problem? He really didn't want to admit that this kid was his disciple. The moment Lang Mang finished speaking, Michaud screamed. Master, are you saying that this woman is Yeva? He's my great-grandfather? King raised his eyebrows and looked at Lang Mang sympathetically. Boss, is there something wrong with your disciple's head? Lang Mang. It was better to expel him from the sect. Lang Mang inhaled deeply and strode over to Lin Yen. He scratched his head in embarrassment. Master, I'm sorry. This rascal doesn't know the rules. He's arrogant and conceited. If he has disrespected you or angered you, I will kick him out of the sect. Michaud finally understood the urgency of the situation. Master, please don't. Michaud turned to Lin Yen. You are really my great-grandfather. You are Yeva. Great-grandfather, I was wrong. I didn't know it was you. Chapter 1387. His great-grandfather had told him the truth a long time ago. But how could he have believed him back then? He had never imagined that what she said was actually true. This wager was also real. Michaud felt as if his world had been turned upside down. Lin Yen chuckled softly and glanced at Lang Mang. There's no need for that. This disciple of yours is quite suitable for you. He's exactly like you when you were young. I almost thought that he was your illegitimate son. Lang Mang choked and coughed. Cough, cough, cough. Master, I don't have a girlfriend yet. Please don't tease me. Sun Xuan laughed so hard that he covered his stomach. Ha 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 ha, boss, I told you. Even Master is so nice. This kid is really too similar to you. You still have the nerve to say that he's arrogant and conceited. Shut up. Lang Mang glared at him. Master, you. At this moment Yun Xian, who had been in a daze for a long time, finally found his voice. This voice immediately attracted Sun Xuan's attention. His face was filled with vigilance and jealousy. Master? What did you call her? Ling Yin decided that she shouldn't hide the truth anymore. She called Yun Xian over and introduced him to her disciples and Michaud's disciple. Ahem. This is Yun Xian. He's my new disciple. When Sun Xuan heard Lin Yan's words, he felt as though his entire world was shaking. He had to support Butcher so that he wouldn't faint. Master, you really had a lover behind my back. I'm no longer your most beloved disciple. Master, how could you do this to me? Lin Yan was rendered speechless by Sun Xuan's behavior. This was the reason why she had kept it a secret from him. She knew that he would make her head hurt from all the noise. Fortunately, King, Butcher, and Lang Mang seemed to have expected this and were rather calm. Lang Mang nodded. No wonder a newbie like him could beat Michaud. As Lang Mang spoke, he looked at Yun Xian and extended his hand. Junior brother Yun Xian, nice to meet you. I am Lang Mang, the eldest disciple of Master. Please take care of me in the future. Butcher also spoke. Greetings, junior brother. I'm Butcher, Master's third disciple. King. Hello, junior brother King. Michaud asked, Junior uncle, how are you? Yun Xian hurriedly greeted them one by one. Hello. Any one of them would be famous in the racing circle. Even if they didn't introduce themselves, there was no way he wouldn't recognize them. I'm sorry. I hid my identity. Lin Yan was afraid that her dear disciple would be frightened, so she hurriedly comforted her. Yun Xian hurriedly waved his hands. Master, it's all right. Actually, I also guessed a little. I just didn't expect. You really are. King smiled and glanced at Michaud. After all, there aren't many people as slow as little maniac. Michaud's face darkened. Brother K, if you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for hiding it from me. Brother K, how dare you say that about me? You already knew her identity, but you still urged me to bet with you. I was wondering why you all wanted to bet with me. You guys are too much. Michaud finally understood what had happened. He was so angry that he was about to cry. He should have known that with King's cunning personality, he would never do anything that would make him lose money. Why didn't he think of it back then? Lin Yan was speechless. This bunch of naughty kids really knew how to play. The more Michaud thought about it, the angrier he got. However, he suddenly cheered up. In that case, I lost to my great-grandfather and junior uncle. I didn't lose embarrassedly then. Ha 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 ha. At this thought, Michaud felt enlightened. All the anger he had been suppressing for so long vanished. Chapter 1388. Great-grandfather, do you know that you're my idol? You're the star of my life. Please teach me a few moves. Michaud gazed at him eagerly. It was a pity that Yeva had already retired from the industry when he had become her disciple. Even his master and uncles hadn't heard anything about her, which had been a source of regret for him. Who would have thought that he would be lucky enough to be competing in the same race as his great-grandfather? He couldn't be happier. He finally understood why his master and the others had looked so envious when they had heard that he would be able to compete in the second level of the international competition. How could Sun Xuan tolerate having another competitor? He pulled Michaud away hastily. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is my master, not yours. Please find your own master, okay? Sun Xuan gazed at Lin Yin with teary eyes. Master, even if you have a new disciple, I have to be the one you love the most. King glanced at him in disdain. Have some shame. Love the most. When did I ever love you? Besides, it's obvious that little Junior is more obedient and favored. Sun Xuan was about to burst into tears as he wiped his tears on Lin Yan's clothes. Master, is what Master said true? Am I really not your favorite disciple? Master, have you never loved me before? Whoa! Lin Yan glanced at King speechlessly. What's wrong with you? Why did you provoke him? Wasn't she annoying enough? I love him, I love him. Lin Yan felt like her head was about to explode. Sun Xuan reluctantly accepted her answer as he whimpered. Then, Master, there's nothing else you're hiding from me, right? No. There's nothing I'm hiding from you. Lin Yan vowed solemnly. All she wanted was for this fellow to shut up. Butcher pushed the garrulous Sun Xuan away and said impatiently, Master, let's have a match. Lang Mang and King's eyes lit up. Yeah, Master. We haven't raced together in a long time. Lin Yan studied her disciple's eager expressions. As their master, she had indeed felt guilty over the past 2 years. Thus she replied readily, Sure. Let's see how much you've improved in the past 2 years. Me too. Michaud, who had just been beaten up, squeezed over. Yin Xian borrowed one from Michaud. Soon, a row of cars stopped neatly at the starting line, and with the pleasant sound of engines, they rushed into the night together. Everyone's heart was surging with heat. Just when they were in high spirits and ready to compete, a silver luxury car suddenly drove over from the opposite direction, giving everyone a fright. Even Lin Yan, who had been through many battles, was taken aback. What the hell? Who would drive in the opposite direction, especially on such a high-speed track? Did they want to die? Even if he didn't want to live anymore, others would. What's going on? Lin Yan watched as the car sped up. It was about to hit her, but it didn't slow down. She hurriedly changed directions to avoid it. However, Lin Yan was speechless when the car swerved left and right like a snake. No matter which direction she dodged, the car would chase after her. No matter how hard Lin Yan tried, she couldn't dodge it. The right side of her car collided with the silver luxury car with a loud crash. Chapter 1389. Lin Yan hurriedly got out of the car to check on the situation. There was smoke billowing from the engine. Needless to say, the engine had been destroyed. F*CKU. King idiot. Lin Yan spat out a string of elegant Chinese words. Lang Mang and the others got out of the car to help Lin Yan put out the fire. Master, are you all right? F*CK. Is this person crazy? How did he drive? Sun Xuan pounded on the man's car door. Open the door and get out. How the hell did you drive? Did you learn how to drive from a cartwrighter? Lin Yan's heart ached as she stared at the damaged engine. I don't care who taught you how to drive. Come out and compensate me. After a while, a man in a suit finally walked out of the smashed car unhurriedly. When she saw who the man was, Lin Yan was dumbfounded. The anger on her face vanished instantly, and was replaced with an aggrieved expression. You, Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao glanced at Sun Xuan before his eyes landed on Lin Yan. I didn't learn how to drive from a cartwrighter. She taught me. Lin Yan covered her face. If there was a hole in the ground, she would definitely crawl into it. What? Sun Xuan's eyes widened in shock. Lin Yan felt like dying. She inhaled deeply and glanced at Xiao Yao. Why did you come here so late at night? Xiao Yao replied matter-of-factly. Didn't Master ask me to train more? Lin Yan replied. I asked you to train more. I didn't ask you to drive against the track. Sun Xuan yelled. Hold on. Master? Master? He called you master? Lang Mang was speechless, King was speechless, Butcher was speechless. Other than Yun Xian, who knew what had happened, everyone else was so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Sun Xuan in particular looked as if he would never believe in love again. What else could Lin Yan do? She could only bite the bullet and explain. Let me introduce. This is my new disciple. His name is Xiao Yao. Sun Xuan fell to his knees and pounded the ground. Master, you lied to me again. How many disciples did you take in behind my back? Lang Mang said. This gentleman is also your disciple. Master, are you sure? Butcher said. This driving skill is really unique. Sun Xuan was still wailing. I can't accept this. I'm not convinced. Forget about junior brother Yin Xian. But your driving skills are so bad. How did you get to this position? Did he rely on his face? No. My master doesn't like men. King glanced at Xiao Yao's outrageously expensive luxury car, raised his eyebrows slightly and said faintly, I won't comment on this gentleman's driving skills. However, sixth junior brother, you should be quite rich, right? Sun Xuan and the others came to a sudden realization when they heard this. Lin Yan's face darkened. What do you mean? Am I the kind of person who looks at money? Can't I challenge myself? King. Cough, of course you can. Lin Yan's heart ached as she stared at her car. Initially, she had decided to make the culprit pay for the damage. However, she had never imagined that she would be the one who had taught him how to drive. What else could she do when she had taught him? It was like a mute person suffering from a bitter pill, unable to say anything. She had only taught him for a few days. It wasn't her fault. He was gifted and self-taught. End of this chapter. Chapter 1390. Other than being my apprentice, Xiao Yao is also the boss of our team. Lin Yan suppressed her heartache and stopped talking about compensation. She then introduced Xiao Yao to the others. These are my apprentices too. Lang Mang, King Butcher and Sun Xuan. Yun Xian, you don't need me to introduce you. Mi Shou is my grand disciple. Xiao Yao nodded and greeted them. I've heard a lot about you. Lin Yan noticed Xiao Yao's composure and suddenly felt that something was amiss. Hold on. Boss, did you already know? Although Xiao Yao's driving skills were lousy, he was well-versed in the racing industry. He must have known Lang Mang and the others. However, Xiao Yao didn't seem surprised when he found out that they were her apprentices. Xiao Yao replied calmly, I just found out. Lin Yan was speechless. Did this guy think that she was a fool? She had a feeling that Xiao Yao might know more than she had imagined. Master, are you sure you're not hiding anything from me? Don't be a mistress again. Sun Xuan squeezed in front of Lin Yan and complained tearfully. Lin Yan hastily quipped, What mistress? That's all. I really have nothing to hide from you this time. Just trust me. Sun Xuan was skeptical, but he reluctantly accepted Lin Yan's assurance. Fifth junior brother Yun Xian was indeed talented, while sixth junior brother Boss Xiao had relied on money to get to his current position. Other than these two reasons, there shouldn't be any other reason for Master to make an exception and accept him as an apprentice. Sun Xuan looked aggrieved. All right, Master. I'll trust you one more time. Don't break my heart again. Butcher patted his chest. I trust you, Master. Lang Mang replied. I trust you too. King glanced at the three of them and chose to remain silent. Sun Xuan immediately tried to stir up trouble. Second brother, why aren't you saying anything? Don't you trust Master? King raised an eyebrow and glanced behind them. I want to believe you. Second brother, what do you mean? Why are you speaking so strangely? Are you? Sun Xuan glanced in King's direction. In the end, before he could finish his sentence, his eyes widened and he stood rooted to the ground. A low-key black family car was parked outside the track, and an extremely handsome man got out of the car. The man was wearing a very comfortable casual outfit and a pair of glasses on his face, looking gentle and harmless. He stood next to the car in the night, his eyes focused on the driver. Beside the man was a little boy who looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. The little boy was like a porcelain doll, and he was also staring at his master. Sun Xuan looked at the two of them, then at his master. His heart ached as he clutched his chest. Master, Master, you just swore that there were no mistresses. In the end, in the next second, little 3 and little 4 appeared in front of him. But wasn't this Xiaoxi a little too young? How could such a young child be taught to drive? Lin Yan hadn't expected that Pei Yuqing and Xiaoli would be here. She was stunned and couldn't react for a moment. Butcher and Lang Mang soon discovered the existence of this big and small creature. Butcher was stunned as well. He instinctively glanced at the two of them and asked, Master, are these two? 7th junior and 8th junior? Lang Mang quipped, Isn't 8th junior too young? End of this chapter. Chapter 1391. King shrugged. Boss, you don't understand. When you teach a disciple, you have to start from a baby. King narrowed his eyes as he studied the man before him. He stroked his chin and said, "It seems like 7th Junior has relied on his looks to get his position." Lin Yan glared at King and the rest. "Shut up." She finally snapped back to her senses and scurried over to Pei Yuqing and Xiaoli. "Why are you guys here?" Pei Yuqing glanced at his son. "Xiaoli was worried about you, so I brought him here." Pei Li stared at his father in shock. He had been waiting for his mother obediently. He hadn't wanted to cause any trouble for his mother. Wasn't he the one who had pretended to be calm the whole night, and finally stood up from the sofa and ran out the door? She had instructed him to follow her if he wanted to see his mother. Then he had gotten into the car. "I'm sorry, baby. I was held up and forgot to inform you." Lin Yan apologized hastily and hugged the little fellow. Pei Li had wanted to retort, but when he heard her call him darling, all his unhappiness vanished. He had finally seen his mother and was in her arms. He would cooperate with him for now. Sun Xuan, who had been ignored, wailed loudly. Master! Master! Aren't you going to give me an explanation? You lied to me again. Didn't you say that there are no mistresses? What are they? Wait a minute. Was he imagining things? Why did he feel that 7th Junior brother and 8th Junior brother's expressions were so similar? They seemed to be made from the same mold. Lin Yan's face darkened. What mistress? What nonsense are you spouting? Sun Xuan was devastated. Aren't these two your new disciples? Butcher replied. They aren't 7th Junior and 8th Junior? Then, Lin Yan coughed softly and held his hand. I told you that I only have 2 new disciples. This isn't 7th Junior. He is my boyfriend. Sun Xuan, Butcher, Lang Mang, and King were shocked. Boyfriend. The 4 of them were even more shocked when they heard Lin Yan's reply. Sun Xuan was dumbfounded. So this isn't my junior brother but my martial father? Lang Mang said. Lao Si, your Chinese is too bad. You should call him Grandmaster. Butcher, Grandmaster? King. Hi, Grandmaster. Lin Yan shot them a warning glance and told them not to talk nonsense. Then, she introduced them to Pei Yuqing. They are my disciples when I was overseas. Pei Yuqing, who hadn't expected Lin Yan to introduce herself to them, looked surprised. Previously, she had wanted nothing more than to completely isolate herself and the people around her from him, for fear that they would have anything to do with him. Pei Yuqing regained his composure and greeted them. Thank you for taking care of Xiaoyan overseas. Pei Li looked even more shocked than Pei Yuqing. What shocked him was that his father's reaction was so calm when he saw that his mother was surrounded by so many members of the opposite sex, and all of them seemed to be close to her. When he suddenly went out in the middle of the night, his expression was terrifying. He thought it would be the same as before. Martial father. Oh no. Grandmaster. Grandmaster. You're too kind. Sun Xuan, who hadn't recovered from the shock, whispered into Lin Yan's ear. No way. Master, you really have a boyfriend? I thought you didn't like men? End of this chapter. Chapter 1392. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. Who said that I'm not interested in men? I just have high standards. The corners of Pei Yuqing's mouth curled up imperceptibly. His tense back relaxed completely. He had never dared to hope that she would acknowledge his identity in front of someone close to her. Sun Xuan fell silent as he studied the man's face. He was at a loss for words. His master seemed to have high standards. This man's appearance was simply too outstanding. Although the car he drove and the clothes he wore were quite low-key, the aura around his body could not be concealed no matter what. Hold on, master. There's another one. The older one is Grandmaster. What about the younger one? Sun Xuan finally recalled that there was a younger one. King's eyes darted from Pei Li to Lin Yan and Pei Yuqing. Are you blind? This child has all the good qualities of master and grandmaster. Who else could he be? Sun Xuan, who was dumbfounded by King's words, scrutinized the boy carefully. The more he scrutinized him, the more he realized that the boy's demeanor was identical to Grandmaster's. There was also his master's shadow between his brows. Sun Xuan was enlightened. Master, it's bad enough that you hid your boyfriend from us. But you didn't even tell us that your son is already so big. Lin Yan was dumbfounded by Sun Xuan's words. Are you blind? How could he be my son? Sun Xuan, who had been called blind, felt aggrieved. He took a few more glances at the boy. I'm not blind. This child looks exactly like you and Grandmaster. Anyone with eyes can tell. Butcher and Lang Meng realized something as well when they heard Sun Xuan's words. Butcher replied, yes. His nose is like Grandmaster's. Lang Meng added, his eyes are like Master's. Michaud added, his mouth is like Master's, and his aura is like Grandmaster's. As for Yun Xian, he knew that he was the son of Boss Xiao's friend. He had asked Lin Yan to take care of him. But he had also thought that way. Lin Yan was speechless. Xiaoli is already 5 years old. If I had given birth to him, would I have given birth 5 years ago? Can you guys use your brains? King mused, it's not impossible. Back then, Master, you disappeared for a few months, saying that you went for a closed-door special training. Now that I think about it, Lin Yan noticed that the kids were getting more and more ridiculous. She grabbed Xiao Yao, who was watching the commotion. Hey, Xiao Yao explained Xiaoli's identity. Sun Xuan was stunned. Why are you asking Sixth Junior Brother to explain? Don't tell me. Don't tell me this child isn't yours and Grandmaster's, but Sixth Junior Brother and you? A second later, Sun Xuan shrieked as Lin Yan kicked him. Ah, I was wrong, Master. Lin Yan was afraid that Xiaoli would be upset, so she stroked the little fellow's head. Xiaoli, don't be angry. They are just spouting nonsense. Hearing this, the little fellow's expression seemed to become even more gloomy. They weren't lying, Mommy. I'm your baby. Xiao Yao finally stepped forward. He glanced at Pei Yuqing and said, Senior brothers, you've misunderstood. This is my friend's son. My parents aren't around, so I asked Master to take care of him. Ah, is that so? Sun Xuan glanced at the child in disbelief. However, it was even more impossible that Master had given birth 5 years ago. End of this chapter. Chapter 1393. What if Xiaoli is really our son? Lin Yan was speechless. Lin Yan was dumbfounded by his question. Pei Li also lifted his head to look at the man in shock, his eyes filled with disbelief. Was he crazy? At the same time, the little fellow's eyes were filled with anticipation. He was also nervous. What if he was really his mother's son? How would his mother answer? Would she hate him, fear him, or reject him? He couldn't even accept his mother's expression. He didn't dare to look or listen. The little fellow's face was as white as a sheet. His hands were clenched into fists, as though he couldn't suppress the energy around him. Lin Yan chuckled softly as she stroked the little fellow's soft cheeks. If Xiaoli is really our son, I would be smiling even in my dreams. The moment Lin Yan spoke, Pei Li's eyes lit up like a sunflower. Is that so? Pei Yuqing's eyes were unfathomable as he muttered softly. The chaotic gathering had finally ended. Lin Yan gestured for everyone to return to their homes. No way, Master. We are only halfway through the competition. Sun Xuan looked reluctant. Lin Yan looked disdainful. It's already so late. Why are we still competing? You guys are single, but I'm not like you. The singles Lang Meng, King, Butcher, Sun Xuan, Yun Xian, and Michaud were speechless. Bye-bye. If you want to compete, I'll see you at the competition venue. Lin Yan chased them away mercilessly. Just as she was about to leave, King suddenly called out to her. Sir, can I talk to you? Why would you want to talk to me? What do you want to talk to me about? Sun Xuan squeezed through the crowd. King shoved Sun Xuan away and pulled Lin Yan aside. What is it? Why are you acting so secretive? Lin Yan frowned. King looked helpless. Master, I suggest that you investigate this child's identity. Lin Yan was puzzled. Are you talking about Xiaoli? What is there to investigate? King was rendered speechless by Lin Yan's carefree attitude. Don't you have any doubts? Perhaps this child really is the son of you and Grandmaster. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. I gave birth to him. How could I not know? King pinched his forehead and reminded him. Master, do you remember that car accident? I remember that after the car accident, your memory wasn't complete. That's impossible. Forget about other things. How could I forget such an important thing? Don't I remember all of you clearly? Don't let your imagination run wild. Lin Yin sounded resolute. King raised his eyebrows. I'm not overthinking things. Master, I advise you to think about it carefully and see if you've ever abandoned her. Lin Yin stammered. He abandoned me. This brat. Can't you hope for something good from me? Cloud Manor. Although Lin Yin didn't take King's words to heart, she couldn't help but recall how he had said that he would abandon her after using her. In the end, she couldn't help but call him to the living room. What's wrong? Pei Yuqing asked when he noticed that the girl seemed troubled. Lin Yin scratched her head and probed. Well, nothing much. I just wanted to ask. Did we know each other? End of this chapter. Chapter 1394. Pei Yuqing's dark eyes were filled with emotions that Lin Yin couldn't understand. After some time the man replied, I do. However, you didn't know that I was the consciousness that possessed you. Lin Yin shook her head. I'm not talking about that. I mean earlier. 5 years ago. 6 years ago. Did you know me? Pei Yuqing's eyes flickered. Why do you ask? Of course he knew her. However, in a sense, Lin Yin didn't know him anymore. At the time, she had forgotten about the Mu family, the holy ground, and everything about them. She had only known Pei Yuqing's identity, not him. Lin Yin replied, Answer me first. For some reason, she was very concerned about this question. Pei Yuqing stared at the girl in front of him. I knew you. Lin Yin was startled for a few seconds. You knew me? I mean 5 or 6 years ago. Did you know me that early? Pei Yuqing's glasses hid the complicated expression in his eyes. Perhaps I fell in love with you earlier than you think. Lin Yin was speechless. Pei Yuqing replied, From the first time I saw you, I was infatuated with you. I couldn't stop thinking about you. Lin Yin was speechless. Pei Yuqing replied, People who say that the spring breeze is warm must have never seen your smile. People who say that sweets are sweet must have never heard your voice. You're like a fairy from heaven. Even looking at you is a blessing. Lin Yin was speechless. Who would believe him? Did he really think that they knew each other? Wasn't this what she had said to Pei Yuqing when she had been flattering him? Lin Yin glared at Pei Yuqing. Hey, are you kidding me again? Why did you copy my words? He had actually remembered every word she had said. Lin Yan's cheeks heated up as she felt an inexplicable sense of shame. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. I'm just telling the truth. Lin Yan finally understood that he was teasing her. She heaved a sigh of relief and muttered to herself. Anyway, I didn't abandon you after I slept with you. Pei Yuqing raised an eyebrow when he heard the girl's muttering. Abandon? Lin Yan coughed softly and replied awkwardly. Ahem. It's all because of what you said today. I started to wonder if I had abandoned you. I even forgot that I had a child. Lin Yan patted her chest with lingering fear. I knew it. How could I abandon my husband and son? Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yan finally fell asleep peacefully. In the quiet courtyard, the father and son stood facing each other. The atmosphere was so tense that even the air around them seemed to be distorted. Why did you say those things to Mom today? Pei Li stood in front of the man with a cold face. Since his mother had already forgotten all those sad things in the past, there was no need to remind her again. It was fine as long as she was happy now. He thought this should be the consensus between them. Moreover, he had vaguely discovered that there was an extremely powerful and dangerous force that had been searching for his mother all these years. His mother would be safe if she knew nothing. Pei Yuqing seemed to have read his son's mind. Sometimes, not knowing anything doesn't mean that you will be safe. Whether it's you or me, we can't guarantee that we can protect her at all times. Besides, even if he wanted to hide it, he wouldn't be able to do so. End of this chapter. Chapter 1395. In the private room of the bar. Qi Xiaoyuan's left cheek was plastered with polar light, and Lin Yan's on his right cheek. He was waving a glow stick in his hand, which had Lin Yan YYDS on it. He was wearing a t-shirt with Lin Yan's picture on it, and there was a bunch of banners, cards, and flyers in front of him. He waved the glow stick excitedly, as he urged the people in the room. She's indeed my goddess. She's really amazing. Ahahaha, give me the money. Give me the money. I told you that my goddess would win. Why didn't you believe me? Those who had bet with Qi Xiaoyuan on Misho had no choice but to accept their loss and transfer the money to Qi Xiaoyuan. You rascal. You're really lucky. Exactly. Who would have thought that the female racer would come in first again? She's really lucky. Qi Xiaoyuan glared at the person who had spoken. What kind of luck is that? Don't you know how to talk? That's her ability. You've been racing for years. How can you be so blind? Ahem. That woman is indeed pretty good. I just didn't expect her to beat Misho. Qi Xiaoyuan was satisfied when he heard that. That's not just an ordinary level of strength. How about it? Come to my wall. I bet that my goddess will definitely be the queen of the final competition. Young Master Qi, isn't your wall the same as Wei Shufeng's? Why did it change so quickly? Asked one of the men. Qi Xiaoyuan, who seemed to have recalled something, dashed to a corner to look for Wei Shufeng. Hey Wei Shufeng, are you trying to cheat? Where's the item I wanted? Wei Shufeng, who was already frustrated, clenched his fists tightly when he saw Qi Xiaoyuan. In the first bet, he had lost an autographed photo of his boss. This time, he had lost a limited edition autographed hat to Qi Xiaoyuan. His heart ached so much that he wished he could kill Qi Xiaoyuan to silence him. He had fallen into Qi Xiaoyuan's trap. He couldn't stand the sight of the traitor's smug expression, so he had made an impulsive bet with Qi Xiaoyuan. Who would have thought that Lin Yan would clinch the first place despite the intense competition? He had even lost his precious autographed hat to Qi Xiaoyuan. What's the hurry? It's at home. I'll bring it to you next time. Do you think I can deny you anything? Wei Shufeng snapped. Wei Shufeng was infuriated by Qi Xiaoyuan's reaction. You have already climbed over the wall. Why do you still need boss's things? Qi Xiaoyuan raised his voice. So what if I climbed over the wall? Even if I did, my love for boss will never change. Wei Shufeng replied. Hypocrite. Scumbag. Qi Xiaoyuan was exasperated. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a jerk. It's already the second level of the Global League, and you still haven't recognized the boss? You still have the nerve to call me trash? The big screen in the room was playing the race live. The scene of Lin Yan overtaking the car and crossing the finish line was replayed repeatedly. The director and the fans' cheers were so loud that they almost pierced the clouds. Actually, what infuriated Wei Shufeng even more was that he realized that he couldn't tear his eyes away from Lin Yan. No, he would never allow himself to have a change of heart for boss. Qi Xiaoyuan seemed to have discovered his conscience. After all, he had kept Wei Shufeng in the dark for so long. He had even cheated him of 2 limited edition autographs. Thus he coughed softly and said, Oh yeah, since we've been brothers for so many years, I'll give you some insider news. What insider news? Wei Shufeng asked absent-mindedly. Qi Xiaoyuan replied mysteriously, You should be able to see boss soon. End of the chapter. Chapter 1396. Wei Shufeng spun around and glared at Qi Xiaoyuan. He grabbed his collar. What did you say? Say it again. Qi Xiaoyuan coughed violently. Let go. Calm down. I said that you will be able to see boss soon. She will probably be participating in the competition. Wei Shufeng looked as though he couldn't believe his ears. Boss will be participating in the competition? Are you sure? Qi Xiaoyuan didn't want to reveal too much, so he replied ambiguously. I only heard some news. I'm not sure if it's accurate. Boss had only asked him not to reveal her identity, but he hadn't. He had only told Wei Shufeng that she would be participating in the competition. Anyway, boss would definitely be able to enter the competition. There was nothing wrong with what he said. I only told you. Don't spread the news, Qi Xiaoyuan reminded him. Wei Shufeng nodded. He knew Qi Xiaoyuan's identity. He was the son of the president of the country's racing union. Hence, The news he had received was probably true. Boss, would she really be participating in the competition? Late at night, in the conference room of the first level of the international competition, the person in charge of the first level of the international competition had a stack of documents in front of him. He slammed the table angrily. Shameless. This is too shameless. Old Lou, what exactly happened? Why did you call us here so late at night? Asked the vice president of the country's racing union. President Xi consoled him. This is a critical period. Let's solve it together. The person in charge slammed the documents on the table angrily. It's all because of those foreign teams. Did you know? The WZ team actually applied to let Lang Mang, King, and Butcher participate in the first level of the international competition. These people were all participants of the Tournament of the Pinnacle, yet they insisted on squeezing them into the first division to snatch a spot. Wasn't this too shameless? I made an exception when they asked Sun Schwerin to participate in the first level of the international competition. Now, even the three of them want to participate in the first level of the international competition. They're trying to go against us, the Chinese team. It wasn't easy for us to produce a few good seedlings this year. Originally, we had a good chance of making it to the tournament of the best. If Lang Mang, King, and Butcher were to participate in the first division, they might even take the top 3 spots. The person in charge had been angry for a long time. Now he started to complain incessantly. When the other higher-ups of the organizers heard this, they were furious. That's really shameless. Which contestant from the Tournament of the Pinnacle would participate in the first division? That's right. How could they do such a thing? If you ask me, Sun Schwerin shouldn't have opened his mouth in the first place. Now they think that China is a pushover and want a foot after being given an inch. That's right. We should eliminate Sun Schwerin as well. We can't make an exception. Listening to the indignant discussion of the organizers, the vice president and President Xi looked at each other with indescribable expressions. In order to avoid complications, only a few people in the country knew that Lin Yin was Yeva. Even the organizers weren't aware. Therefore, the organizers thought that the WZ team was shamelessly provoking Hua Nation. Little did they know that Yeva's apprentices were vying for Yeva's favor. They were forcing the WZ team to apply for a spot in the first level, so that they could compete with their master. Fortunately, they had received a call from Lin Yin. The boss had explained the situation to them, and told them to ignore Lang Mang and the others. End of chapter. Chapter 1397. This is indeed a little too much. WZ is a veteran team after all. How could they do such a thing? All these years, the competition has always been dominated by foreign teams. The Chinese teams haven't even been able to enter. How could they not be arrogant? Some time ago, they directly challenged us on our turf, causing our country's racing circle to lose face. This time we can't continue to compromise no matter what. Listening to the angry discussions of the higher-ups, President Xi came out to smooth things over. Old Lou, don't be too angry. Just send an email to reject them. This time, the competition is in China, and we are the organizers. We still have this bit of authority. Besides, what they did was against the rules. The person in charge calmed down and told President Xi earnestly, President Xi, you're right. This time, our country has produced a good seedling. Although we don't expect her to enter the competition, we have to do our best to pave the way for her and groom her well. The person in charge was on the verge of tears. Although Thunderous Sound Racing and Lightspeed Racing had been supporting them all these years, they hadn't produced any newcomers in a long time. Who would have thought that Lin Yin would appear out of nowhere? It hadn't been easy for the Chinese country to produce such a good seedling. She had even clinched the 3rd and 2nd level of the international competition. He was afraid that she would melt in his mouth and fall in his hands. Hence, he couldn't allow those foreign teams to mess around. President Xi didn't know how to reply to the person in charge when he said that he had to groom and protect Lin Yin. He could only nod and smile ambiguously. That's right, we have to protect her. All right then, it's settled. Apart from that, I have something else to remind everyone of. The first level of the international competition is just around the corner, and everyone knows how important this competition is. This competition will determine the number of spots in the summit race, and whether or not the Chinese teams will have the opportunity to enter the summit race this year. Recently, our team has been frequently challenged by foreign teams. I'm sure you all know that this has caused a terrible impact and seriously affected our team's performance. Hence, I have to trouble all the racers to go back and tell them not to challenge them privately. But some of the foreign racers are really arrogant and difficult to deal with. Their words are extremely unpleasant. Many of our racers only agreed to the race because they couldn't take it anymore. Yeah, especially that Michelle Simon from the Falcon team. She's a lunatic. Every time she wins a challenge, she would spout nonsense and insult us on the internet, forcing a few of our racers to lose their minds and withdraw from the competition. Vice President Lee suggested, "Then let's unanimously announce to the public that we're training in a closed-door manner and cut off all communication channels. We must let them focus on preparing for the competition." The manager nodded eagerly. "Oh yeah, you have to protect Lin Yan. She's a girl after all, so she's easily affected. I can't let this affect my performance in the competition." The two guild leaders looked at each other in silence as they listened to the person in charge of the competition. President Chi coughed lightly. "Ahem, don't worry about that. This will definitely not happen." Yeva's mental fortitude and dominance were unparalleled in the racing industry. End of chapter. Chapter 1398. Yeva's mental fortitude and dominance were unparalleled in the racing industry. The best example was when she had led the WZ team to defeat the GD team, which had dominated the racing industry. Yeva's performance had been godlike. That had been an unprecedented test of her mental fortitude and driving skills. Hence, there was no such thing as a mental breakdown. In fact, there were many racers who had been forced to do so by her. The next day, the racetrack's Grim Reaper, who was unparalleled in terms of mental fortitude and driving skills, was in a state of mental breakdown. The competition was just around the corner, so she was supposed to be training. However, due to her apprentice's dangerous behavior last night, she decided that she had to take some time out to solve this problem. After all, it was a matter of life and death. Of course, she wouldn't be training at the racetrack. She had just realized last night that this fellow had no sense of direction. He probably didn't even know the basics of traffic. Hence, Ling Yan found a place with fewer cars and started driving with Xiao Yao. She started from the basic traffic rules. Kill him. Kill him. I'm talking about the direction. I'm not asking you to get out of the car and hit someone. Braking. Do you have a mine at home? Aren't you afraid of hitting someone? Alright, you do have a mine at home. Even if you do, you can't drive like this. You didn't turn red, yellow or green. What's wrong? Is there no color that you like? Big brother, tell me the truth. How much did you spend on your license? Ling Yan's screams echoed throughout the entire journey. She swore that none of the apprentices she had taught in her life had made her want to die. It's too easy. I like racing. Xiao Yao clutched the steering wheel and frowned. He seemed displeased. Ling Yan was speechless. Haha. Let the track go. Even she couldn't escape from his deadly driving skills. The scariest thing about him wasn't his superb driving skills, but the fact that he was an experienced driver. Ling Yan nagged as though she was teaching a kindergartner. It took him more than 3 hours to reach the destination, and the sky was already dark. Alright, let's call it a day. Remember what I told you today. Remember all the traffic rules, especially don't go against traffic. If you can't understand the navigation, just turn on the voice. If you can't tell left from right, just write it on the back of your hand. Write left on the back of your left hand, and right on the back of your right hand. As the car drove steadily, Ling Yan was giving Xiao Yao instructions when a little boy dashed out of the corner. Ling Yan yelled, "Brake!" Fortunately, Ling Yan's teachings hadn't gone to waste. Xiao Yao's reflexes had been swift enough to stop the car in time. However, even though Xiao Yao stopped the car, the little boy was still in shock. He still pounced toward their car and fell to the ground. Startled, Lin Yin got out of the car hastily. He saw a 5 or 6-year-old boy lying on the ground in a sorry state, crying loudly. Little friend. Kid, are you alright? Lin Yin rushed over to check on the kid. When the little boy heard Lin Yan's voice, he stopped crying and his body stiffened. A few seconds later, the little guy whimpered as he raised his head and gazed at Lin Yan with teary eyes. His eyes were filled with longing and grievance, as though he was an abandoned puppy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1399. Lin Yan was startled when she saw the little boy. The little fellow had a pair of grape-like big eyes. His skin was snow-white, and he looked like a ball of jade. His tearful little appearance was like a lost furry animal, making people feel tender and affectionate towards him. There was an inexplicable sense of closeness. She had never seen such a beautiful child before. Ah no, she had one at home. Mommy. Lin Yin was still in a daze when the little fellow crawled up like a swallow returning to the forest. He leaped into her arms, his tiny body trembling slightly. Suddenly, a soft ball of glutinous rice fell into her arms. Lin Yin froze for a moment. Air. Why was this child calling her mommy? Lin Yin assumed that the child was frightened and didn't think much of it. She hurriedly checked on the child. Kid, are you hurt? The culprit got out of the car. Xiao Yao frowned as he gazed at the child in Lin Yan's arms. He looked conflicted. Mommy! The little fellow in her arms was crying so sadly that Lin Yan's heart ached. She drove to Xiao Yao complaining. How could you drive? She hadn't expected that an accident would happen while she was teaching. She hadn't even kept an eye on him. His reputation had been ruined. Xiao Yao glanced at the little boy and said coldly, to be honest, you're not good at scamming. Given my driving skills, your tricks are too clumsy. No one will believe you. The little fellow clung to Lin Yan's arms like a koala bear. His tiny hands clutched Lin Yan's clothes tightly. He shrank back in Lin Yan's arms in fright. Mommy, this uncle is so scary. Mommy, it hurts. Lin Yan comforted the child in her arms as she glared at Xiao Yao. What nonsense are you talking about? He's still so young. How could he know about scamming? How could he blame a child for his lousy driving skills? Don't you know that you're being irresponsible? Initially, Lin Yan had thought that it was strange for the child to dash toward their car in broad daylight. However, if he had been trying to scam them, the mastermind would have come out to extort money. However, she hadn't seen him. Hence, it wasn't as Xiao Yao had said. Xiao Yao was speechless. Kid, why are you alone? Where is your home? Do you have mom and dad's phone number? The little fellow replied while sobbing. I don't have a father. Mother. You are my mother. Wherever my mother is, that is where my home is. Lin Yan's head throbbed when she heard the child's words. She turned to glare at Xiao Yao and whispered, Oh no! Did you give this child a concussion? Xiao Yao said, I didn't hit him. He was trying to scam me. I believe you should have a professional judgment. Lin Yin inhaled deeply. My professional opinion is that you should practice your driving skills. The little fellow popped his head out of Lin Yan's arms. Mommy, don't blame him. I was careless. Lin Yin turned to glare at Xiao Yao. Look at you. You're not as sensible as a child. Xiao Yao. Lin Yin picked the little fellow up. Kid, I'm taking you to the hospital for a checkup. Try to recall your parents' names and phone numbers. The little fellow blinked and suddenly asked, Mommy, what's your name? Lin Yin was startled. Huh, you mean me? My name is Lin Yin. The little fellow gazed at her, his eyes as bright as the sky that had been washed by the rain. He replied crisply, Mommy, my mommy's name is Lin Yin. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.